Beau, I think I see you hop on. Hello, I'm waiting just like a minute or two longer and we will get started.
It's okay. Cool. Sorry, I was a minute late.
It's acceptable. We do not mind.
A minute late is still late,
It's okay.
right?
Are you going to teach us about that today?
No, maybe more if my intention was good. So if you judge me on my intentions, I think they were good. I didn't expect I went and got a cup of water, came back, and then I just had to look up the passcode. So I was a minute.
Oh, yeah. And then it always seems like as soon as I'm logging on, when it's like at time, it'll be like, your Zoom needs to update. And I'm like,
Oh,
of course it does.
Well, I have two different Zooms and logins too. So if I'm on the wrong one, but I host it, my password is like a number that I don't always remember. So I'm like, wait, I thought it was this number. It's 6 numbers because it's weird because I can't edit it. I don't know why.
Yeah.
So,
well, you're here and it's good. While we wait for a couple people to hop on, I told Beau I needed some info about him today because he's going to be too bashful to introduce himself. So I wanted to do it for him. Beau he's originally from Canton. He now lives in Hudson with his beautiful wife, and I can attest to beautiful. I graduated with his wife, Kristen, of almost 15 years. Is it almost, or is it 15?
Yeah, in 2 weeks, it'll be 15 years.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
And he is father of 3 sons ranging from 5 to 13 years old. He has so much leadership experience, guys. He is former regional and district manager of Indiana, Michigan, and Ohio with $50 million worth of sales and responsibility of leading over 500 employees. Currently, he is now business owner of Vincent Family Insurance, which opened up in October of 2019 when he purchased a 30-year-old insurance agency in Stowe. Beau recently bought another insurance agency in my hometown where I grew up of Uniontown, Hartville area in January of 22. And he is now 8.5 times where he was when he started in October of 2019. Congratulations on that, Beau. With goals of doubling again by the end of this year. His amazing staff ranks as one of the fastest growing in Ohio, the Midwest, and the nation. Beau is a consultant for Craig Wiggins Coaching and Consulting, the leading insurance training and consulting platform. He works directly with 7 to 10 small business owners each month and has the blessing to record live and on-demand training platforms for 16,000 members. That's amazing. Beau has spoken already at several insurance conferences this year, and will be speaking again in Alabama in June, Las Vegas in September. And he is the host of an amazing, amazing podcast, guys. It's called the Conviction of a Leader podcast. It's based around entrepreneurs and leaders who want to show others their journey and what they have learned in order to help others. He recently trademarked his mantra last year, "We love insurance, but we love people more," which falls right in with KW culture and another reason we love him. Beau, I will let you take it away from here. Thank you so much for joining us today.
It's so much better. Well, thank you for inviting me, but it's so much better when somebody else introduces you because I get to listen in instead of, when somebody else introduces you. I think we were talking about it. It's kind of flattering in a way, but if I do it, people are kind of like, wow, he's kind of arrogant, or wow, he's kind of bragging. And, but no, I'm not. I'm just extremely blessed because Jill did not invite me because she went to high school with my wife. We just ran into each other. Was it maybe a couple of weeks ago, right around Christmas, right? Actually, It was Christmas for the pie day that was in your office. So it was super cool to run into you and just talk a little bit about our paths and leadership. So I think it's a blessing that you invited me on, and I'm super excited to share with you guys today and ladies. So, but I wanted to start out, and I got my notes here, and if I can, I might disappear for 1 sec, but I am bringing my notes to the same page, so that way you can see me and I can look at my notes because my iPad allows me to do both. Can you see me now? Cool. Okay. So I'm going to go through, it's kind of going to feel like maybe like a speech, whatever, and we'll talk about leadership. And then any questions, anything you want to ask more around the leadership side, I would love to talk about at the end. So anything that you want to know, anything that you're interested about, even comments, if you're like, you know what, Beau, that kind of sucked, and I'm not sure it applies to me. So I'd love to hear it. But Jill told me that everybody on here is a leader, but I want to start out with just saying that leadership is actually not a title. It's actually a choice. So if you are a team lead or an office manager, you don't actually have, I'm going to turn this off. There. You don't actually have leadership because of your title. Your title actually gives you authority over people. So it's completely different. Leadership is earned, and there could be informal and formal leadership. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that today, but each day has a purpose. And sometimes we get lost trying to find this long-term goal of a future and a position that we're going to fall into someday. And we're working towards, maybe somebody on this call is like, I want to be the broker. I want to have my own brokerage. I want to, whatever, someday, right? And when I get there, I'll fulfill my purpose. But I'm here to remind you that, hey, today has a purpose, and today is really all that we are guaranteed. So if you're waiting for a long-term purpose and a long-term goal, you might die before you get there. So just remember that it took me a long time until I finally realized, man, I've missed so many hours, days, and weeks waiting for my purpose to come. And guess what? I had passed up on each day's purpose. So every day has a purpose. And I want to remind you that today. Okay. So before I get into this, just think about, wow, today has a purpose. What is my purpose today? What do I want to accomplish today? So over my career, like I said, I've had to remind myself so much because I don't want to miss the big impact that I have on today. And maybe it's just one person. Maybe it's this group. Maybe it's some of my team members. Maybe it's my wife and my kids. But if I'm always looking to the future drives us, gives us dreams and aspirations, and sometimes can get us through today. But I want to remind you, don't forget that today has a purpose. So ready to go? Ready to start now? Okay. So make decisions today throughout my talking today. Hopefully something impacts you and you can make a decision today that your future self will thank you for. Okay. Because I know years and years ago, I was making decisions that have impacted the life that I have today. Because I told Jill, I said, I feel like if I died today, I think it would be sad, but I'd be dead. So, but I could tell you on this call that I'm getting to live out multiple dreams. I'm a husband of a wife that I absolutely adore and love. I have 3 sons that I wanted to be a father to. I have a business that I own, and I get to consult on the side and do a podcast. So I can tell you that I'm living out my dreams. So if I died today, maybe Jill, you go to the funeral and say, Beau told me he was living out his dreams. So we should celebrate that. So, but for the topic today I want to talk about how leadership is a muscle. So I don't know if anybody's ever heard that. I hope not, because it came to me a while back and I started to think like, wow, leadership really is like something that has to be worked. So you're probably thinking like, I'm waiting to see like where this goes. Beau, are you a meathead? Are you a muscle guy? Well, like I work out, I do take care of myself, but that's not where it came from. I wasn't in the gym one day thinking, man, leadership's like this muscle that I'm working. But no, it is a muscle though. And it can and must be worked out in order to grow. So you don't grow a muscle by reading about it, do you? So I can't sit down and read about a workout and about how do I make my chest bigger, my biceps bigger, and then all of a sudden they're bigger, right? So a lot of people think that I'm going to read leadership books and I become a better leader. Okay. I'll tell you how those do fall into your leadership and the authority that you have. But it's just, think of like, you can't go watch a car about driving and then all of a sudden, it's okay. And then all of a sudden you have the ability to drive, right? I think sometimes we have to watch something, we have to read it, and then we have to do it, right? So everything is difficult the first time that you do it. But as it grows, it will grow through a consistency. Okay, so one of my favorite one-liners that I say all the time to people I work with, my team members, even myself, is that consistency is the true key to success. Okay, because if I worked out today, it's going to hurt, right? It's my first time. And then, you know what? If I wait a year to do it again, it's going to hurt again. And I haven't grown at all. So if you think that by working out some leadership once in a long time is going to grow you because you've done it, things have changed, your body, your career, the people you work with, things change, right? And it hurts. It sucks the first time you do anything, but it does feel like the first time you do it. If has anybody worked out one time, quit, and then went back to it a year later and like, God, my legs hurt so bad, I can barely even walk. So let's really dive deeper into maybe some steps here on how to work out your leadership as a muscle. So consistency is repetition, right? To work out specific leadership skills, you must do these 4 steps. And the 5th one is repeat. So the first one is you need to create a workout plan. Create a plan, right? 1. Number 2, work out the muscle. So you have to do something with that muscle, right? Okay. 3, you have to feed the muscle. 4, you have to rest the muscle. And then 5, repeat 1 through 4. Okay. Consistently, right? So that's where the consistency comes from. So creating the workout plan or the plan. So what I do when I'm like going into a situation that's going to require some of my like leadership knowledge, skills, past experiences, I sit down, I write out a plan. So if I'm going to sit down with Jill today and speak about her performance, I don't just go into that meeting because I'm a talker, Jill, you know I am. If I don't have a plan, it could go from here to here. And you're like, how are we talking about puppies when I thought we were talking about my career? So if you go in with a plan, you also get to rehearse that plan. So how do you set a plan? It could be through reading books, right? So I could read a workout plan before I actually do it. Reading the plan doesn't make my muscle bigger, but it does prepare me to grow my muscle. Okay. So you can watch other people's leadership, speak to other leaders, and use your own experiences to set that plan. So I write these questions down. Like, obviously, why am I meeting with Jill today? I'm going to use Jill, right? Why am I meeting with Jill today? Just write that down, right? It seems pretty simple, but I write it down. Like, I want to make sure I stay focused on that. Maybe it's that I want Jill to feel like she belongs on our team, or I want to talk to Jill about her past performance, or I want to talk to Jill about future potential. So the next one is, how am I going to approach this situation? Is it going to be done in person? Can it be done online? Should it be done alone? Do I need to bring another leader into this conversation with me? Because believe it or not, that's probably one of the bigger errors on when you have maybe accountability or tougher conversations is, should there be another person in the room? And believe it or not, it took a while for my career to realize, like, wow, I probably should have had another person, even just observing in the room, to make sure that the truth is what the truth is, right? So perception becomes everybody's reality, but a third party may say, Beau, you got pretty emotional there. And I might think, no, I didn't. And they will say, you raised your voice. And I might have thought, no, I didn't, but I did, according to the third party. So because it, there's always what, 3 sides of the story, their side, your side, and the truth, right? So the third party will actually help you, okay? So then you think, when do I need to schedule this? Okay, so what level of urgency is it? Is it a today thing? Is it next week? Is it before the end of the quarter, end of the month? So sometimes I might say, the urgency of this, it's the 23rd. I could wait until, the 3rd of April, because that gives me a reason to say, Joe, I'd like to meet with you and cover year to date for the first quarter. Gives you a really good reason that seems like putting somebody on the defense, right? Okay. So I role play during creating a plan. I start to role play. So if you're thinking about a workout, you might think, okay, it's going to go like this before I grab the muscle, before I grab the weight. Okay. So I might role play. So I might say, hey, Jill, I know that you're a leader who's had to deal with underperforming, realtors in the past. I would like to ask you how you've addressed it. Could we role play? What are some of the things that they're going to push back on? You know what, Jill? I don't have a salary. I have 3 kids. Okay. And those come first. How do you handle that? How are you going to respond when somebody pushes it back on you? And then they turn the conversation and say, but you've never talked to Allison like this. How do you respond? Do you say, well, we're speaking about you today, but if you've never had to deal with this before, your best bet of understanding how to deal with it would be the role play through creating a workout plan, creating your plan of conversation. Okay. I try to remove. So within this step, if you're going to write down a couple questions that you want to guide it, remove the yous as much as you can. Why didn't you? Why did you? I think that you don't care. If you can remove those, you're going to have a better chance of them responding. I can tell you why, because if I went to Jill and I said, why do you do this, Jill? Let's talk about your performance. You know what, Jill? I think that based on what is going on here, I think you don't care. And I'll tell you one thing you can't do is actually tell how somebody feels deep down. They could give you all the signs that they don't care, but they may actually go home and like cry at night or think about their performance and feel so guilty. Can't tell them how or why they did something, but you can ask, how do you think we got here? You could say how do you think we got here? What decisions do you think we made along the way that maybe has got us to this point? So those are just some examples, okay? So when you build that plan, don't be afraid to share that plan with another leader that you have trust in or HR. And then role play some situations. Ask maybe the experienced person you're speaking to, what have you ran into in the past? What kind of potential, responses do you think they could have? And I want to talk about how to overcome them, how we can keep the conversation less emotional, right? I think I always say this, it's best for the leader to leave emotions out of it. Meaning like, if I'm going to be emotional, it might say, Jill, I care so much about you being on my team. All I really care about is helping you be successful. That's the only emotion you need to bring to it. If you bring anything else, it's automatic defense. And what happens is your message may be amazing, but your delivery may ruin the message. So remember that, right? Because hasn't anybody ever had like somebody in your life, a spouse, a boss, just really come at you without understanding the whole picture? It's good to go into this with some understanding of where you're going. Number 2, how will you work out the muscle today? So I'm going to ask you to apply some of this today. So if you have time today, make the time, make a change today. If you haven't done something like this, okay, we're about to end a quarter. Okay. How are you going to work out this muscle? Okay. Today, I want you to sit down and create a plan to meet with a performer on your team. You could pick somebody who is not maximizing their potential. You could pick your lowest performing person. That's up to you to decide. Okay. So state about how and when you met them by reminding them why they are important on your team. So for Jill, if Jill was to work with me, I would say, Jill, I want to start out this meeting today with just reminding you how when I first met you, you were a realtor and now you're an office manager and you're leading all these people. I'm so proud of you. And I want to remind you that you have a big part in our DNA and in our agency or in our office, however you want to say it. Call out their strengths and what has maybe attracted you to bring them on your team. Because, I understand the dynamics of your guys' team and a lot of like individual contributors or realtors that work on your team. It's a little different, right? You're not cutting them salary checks all the time. So it's slightly different. You need to lean on your informal leadership, which is actually trust and advice that they've given to you. Because the authority you have, yeah, you could remove them from their team, but a lot of people in realtor world and mortgage world will move from one team to the next, right? It's like, you know what? I'm not underperforming. Mark is a bad leader, and I'm leaving Mark. But Mark, if you show the passion and the care about them during the step, you could remind them why they're on your team. And here's one thing I always say, and I love this. Okay. I like to remind people that, hey, we're not family, right? We're not family. And a lot of people, it almost cringe. And I don't mean this in an offensive way. I cringe when people are like, we're a family. And it's like, no, you're not. Because guess what? I didn't get to pick my dad, my uncle, okay, my brother, my sister, my mom. And some of them and my cousins, I might have switched some of them out for other people if I could have chose. My dad is, and Jill might know this, my dad is a recovering drug addict. Well, still a drug addict, but I love him. But would I have chose a different one? Maybe. I don't know. I didn't have that choice. But here's what's so beautiful about your team. They chose you and you chose them. And guess what? You can choose to not work with them anymore, and they can choose not to work with you. And the longer that you work together, the more that they choose every day that they want to be on your team. We're not a family. Okay. And it's important during the step for them to understand that. So I like to start conversations, tough ones, because you know why? I start tough, not tough. I start reminding them why, get into the tougher stuff. And then at the end, as long as I want them still on my team, which I'll tell you about in the last step 4, is that I want to remind them, Jill, even though today was maybe not like the easiest conversation to have, I just want you to know that you still are a huge part of our DNA and our agency, and the intangibles that you carry beyond your sales are so important to me and our team. And I want to make sure you know that you still belong here. And if they don't, maybe you don't say that, but that's what I say when I want people to leave. Because what I've noticed is that if we have these tough conversations and they leave and you don't remind them at the end that you still want them on your team, they think Mark was really hard on me today. And that's all they remember. But if you start out good, and they used to call it crap sandwiches, shit sandwiches, I don't know. But I like it with, that's just kind of who I am in general. I think I need to earn that respect over my life with them. But because if this is the first time you're really talking to them, they're going to be like, why are you talking to me again right now? Like you have not talked to me ever. So number 3, feed the muscle. Okay. If you don't know, ask them what did you want to achieve in 2022? What did you want to achieve in the first quarter of 2023? You might already know this because a lot of you have planned this year, but through feeding the muscle, you kind of got to know where they want to go. Think of the analogy of a person who can lift 40 pounds, but is only lifting 10 pounds. It will take them hundreds of reps to get any sort of, growth. Because if wow, they can lift 40, or they should have sold 40 homes this year and they're on pace to sell 10, right? They're underperforming maybe. So you want to ask them, what were your goals? If you don't already know that, ask them what their dream, in a dream world, where would you want to be right now after the first quarter? Where would you want to be at the end of this year? Because the average person will settle for coming close. That is so common. If you tell them, I want you to sell 20 homes this year, they will say, I got to 19, Allison. Aren't you so happy? Aren't you so proud of me? And it's like, well, no, you missed your goal. Like, you made a big improvement, but you set out for a goal, not a minimum. So a lot of people look at their goal as the minimum. I came close to my minimum, right? But no, the goal is like, you want to exceed that. That's what I always think. So, the average person just gets so comfortable to getting close, right? So here are some things. I like to ask questions and then listen. Let them think for a minute. You know what? When I was a younger leader, I used to fill the silence. If it would make me so uncomfortable, if I said, Jill, tell me about how you feel you're doing so far in the year. And like, say Jill's like, it's a good question. And then I would say, like how, you sold 5 homes. How do you feel about that? Like, I would start to give them all the things I wanted them to think, right? Or say, or consider this before you answer. Oh, you don't know? Consider this maybe. You were sick and now you're not, like, or, I know you just started, but like, so let them think for a second. If they have a question, they will break the silence and ask it. Okay? Have some confidence in yourself and your ability to ask the question, and have confidence in them that they're just thinking about it. Maybe it's something that you should have asked them in December of last year, so they would have known in January, but we're asking them at the end of the first quarter. And sometimes if I know, man, I was their leader and I should have already initiated this, I might say, I know we should have had this conversation in December, but where would you like to be at the end of 2023? 20 homes? Okay. I think that's a good goal for some people. You might say, I think you could sell 8 million in homes this year. I'm not sure why you chose 5 million. Like, so, and I would definitely reword that but I would word it in a way that I think the potential for you to sell is huge. I think I could see us hitting 10 million with our partnership. So, and then I ask these 4 or 5 questions, ask them how they feel they are progressing towards that goal. Ask them how they think they could improve towards their goal. If they're like, I don't think I'm progressing well, I'm underperforming. So you're asking them the questions, okay? Ask, what can I do to help you improve towards your goal? And then this is my favorite question I've ever asked as a leader. I don't know why. And I ask it in the after the interview. I always say this, like, hey, Rachel, what do you think my role is in your success? And it's so funny because you think you know, but everybody's is different. Everybody answers it differently. They might say, honestly, I just want you to give me leadership and guidance when I need it. I want you to pay for my marketing. I want you to give me an opportunity for growth. I want to have a mentor from you. So you never know what they're going to say. They might say, honestly, you gave me my shot and I just need to go do it. So during this step, if it needs to be done, I create things called PIPs, performance improvement plans. Think of this analogy of a doctor and a patient. If you don't diagnose the problem correctly, you're going to give the incorrect treatment or training. And guess what? If I go to the doctor and I have a stomach ache, and the doctor's like, wow, we need to remove your appendix right now. And they remove it, and my stomach still hurts. And they say, oh my God, it wasn't that. You have a tear in your intestine. We have to go in and repair that now. Oh my God, it wasn't that. You have a hernia. Okay, so if we think it's our job to just be the one diagnosing, we most likely will misdiagnose and give the incorrect training. So they need to be involved in the gap. Where they are today versus their goal and where they need to be, there's a gap. They live in the gap, not you. And in order for you to say, this is what you have to do, this is what you're struggling with, may not be right. And sometimes I lied in the past to leaders of me because I was embarrassed about the truth. Truth is, I only work 6 out of my 8 hours a day. I don't even want you to know that. That's the real truth. The other truth is, I'm very unorganized. You think I'm organized, and I don't want you to know now that I'm actually not. They may tell you what you want to hear if you feed them the answer, but it may not be what they need to hear and what really is the problem. Allow them to self-diagnose and ask them to be honest, because they're only lying to themselves, not you. Like if I go to a doctor and I lie about my symptoms, he's going to diagnose me wrong and he's going to give me a treatment that does not fix what's wrong. So if you can explain that, like, let's be honest with each other. If you help me diagnose what maybe the missing part of your salesmanship is, we can put together a plan, but you got to be honest with yourself. And you can use my analogy. If you go to the doctor and you lie about your symptoms, they're going to diagnose you incorrectly and they're going to give you the wrong treatment, and the problem will still exist. How does that help anybody? You waste the doctor's time, you waste your time, your money, your body, your health, right? Because we're talking about sometimes when people are failing in work, their emotional health also is taking a toll, and yours, and their family. So why lie about it? Let's get down to the truth. And they may not understand where that's at, but maybe you could ask questions like, okay, I noticed that, a lot of people are you used to get here at 10 a.m. Now you're getting here at 11. Let's talk about that. Like, what's changed? Because then maybe you're helping them diagnose it, right? You're walking them through maybe things. You're not answering it, but you're walking them through their life. What has changed? Okay. If you guys have any, people that you can mentor them during this PIP, performance improvement plan, give them a mentor. If you have any digital training or handbooks or anything that they could read, right? So give them the support, right? The thing about this is when you're asking, how am I going to feed the muscle for them? It may be you, Allison. It may be you once a week. It may be, somebody on Rick's team. You never know, right? Step 4, the rest. Set a completion date. So when you're done with your conversation with them, say, you know what, Jill, we're going to follow up in 30 days or 4 weeks, or every Friday, let's get coffee in the office and just talk about how you're performing, month to date, quarter to date, week to date now. Because I'm not looking I have this thought process, and I might have missed it on step 2, but I assume positive intent. So when you go into a situation, assume they wanted to do the right things, but something is holding them back. Most people don't want to fail, right? So don't assume they're trying to rob your time or your whatever it would be, right? Just go into the situation and give them a benefit of the doubt to assume positive intent. Okay. Set a follow-up date and rest after you're done with the conversation. What I do, especially when I'm newer to a situation, I like to rerun the conversation and say, when Jill responded like this, I let my emotion come out. And, if I'm going to show them the leadership, what leadership skills really kind of look like, and I'm their model and mentor, I need to call them and apologize. Like, hey, Jill, I just want to make sure, thank you for, coming into the office today and spending time with me or grabbing coffee. It means a lot to me. I hope that when I lost my emotions slightly, when I responded to the way, the question you asked, that wasn't right of me. I hope it didn't take away from my message. And if it did, I want to apologize because my emotion didn't have any place there. So I know it wasn't personal. So don't take it personal unless they're literally saying, you suck, Allison. You suck, Jill. But if they do, maybe you should listen. Okay. And if you don't like the way they respond, that's fine after that. But I like to know what my faults are in order to fix them. We got to be honest with ourselves too. If we're the problem during the rest phase, then we also have to diagnose our own problem and make a correction of our own course. So before these conversations, I just said that we like to assume positive intent. So ask yourself, how did the situation go? Why do I think it went this direction? What can I do next time to improve my effectiveness and inspire growth? So there's two ways to impact human behavior. You can manipulate it or you can inspire it. So through your conversation, I would say you need to lean on the inspiring side. So if you understand what their goals in personal and professional life are, you can inspire them. But if you think it's all money and you think that maybe you could manipulate them, then it won't last very long either, and you will lose your informal authority or respect will fall because you have authority over them, but it doesn't mean they have to respect you. They'll listen to you, but it doesn't mean they respect you. Okay, so number 5, repeat. It's like the analogy. Every time you have to do something for the first time, it feels like the first time. So if you wait another year and you tell them, I'm going to do this, every quarter for you, I'm going to do it biannually, I'm going to do it yearly, and then you miss it, it's going to feel like the first time again. And trust me, they're going to remind you, I thought we were going to get this more often. So how do you diagnose that and help yourself? You go into Zoom or you go into your Outlook calendar or Google, whatever you use, and you book it today. I even say, you know what, Jill, before we're done today, I'm going to book our next appointment because I'm so busy. You're so busy. How does, June 23rd work? 3 months from today. How's that work for you? Works good? Anything on your schedule yet? Okay, it's a Friday. Does that work? What time? What place? Perfect. It's done. So develop yourself a training routine and a goal that you want to be on. I do Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 9 a.m. Zooms with my entire team, 10 people remote every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And then I do once a month training one-on-one with each person. They deserve that from me, that much. So before I was who and I'm not perfect and I got a lot of ways to go, but I envisioned or dreamed of the person that I wanted to be today. I wanted to be somebody that had patience when I didn't have it. I wanted to be somebody who was a man or a woman of their word, right? When I said something, I wanted to do it. If I'm on the phone with Rick today, and I don't even know if Rick's listening because he doesn't have his camera on, but if I'm on the phone with Rick today and Rick says, I got another call coming in, there he is. I got another call coming in. I'll call you right back. And I never do. Change your wording. Okay. If your team is used to you answering the phone, Rick, and you never call them back because you're like, I'm with the customer, I'll call you back, and you never do. Be honest with them. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know if I'll call you back today because I got showings till 6 and my kids got this. I'll do my best, but I cannot promise you anything. But shoot me a text with times you're available and I'll try to respond. Just be honest. I started to learn I used to tell everybody, I'll get right back to you. I'll call you right back when I'm done with this person. I never did it. Never did it. So it took away my effectiveness and respect to the team because they always thought everybody was more important than them. But if you remember Jill calling out, we love insurance, we love people more. Do you love real estate, but you love people more? Okay. If you love your customers more than your team, they will know. And it's so funny because I call out people all the time. You say you love them, but you never put them ahead of a customer. You always change their training to take out a client. Always. So why do you think they should put your business above your dedication? We want 100% from our team when we only give them 50%. That is not fair. Okay, you're a leader. Lead them, right? You wanted the responsibility and authority, you got it. So be a man or a woman of your word. Put them above your customer, because guess what? You'll have way more customers when you multiply yourself. Okay. But if you're constantly turning over people, maybe you didn't pull the wrong person in. Maybe you need to look in the mirror. And I have to do that consistently. Is that, wow, in that interview, I might have talked up this position a little more than it is. There's a lot of outbound dialing. I need to be a little more honest. They failed because they thought they were never going to dial outbound. And you know what? In insurance, we do a lot of outbound. Should have been more honest. That was me. Now they're quitting on me because they said, I told you I didn't like cold calling. So I set out to be the greatest employer. And that's why we're 8.5 times. I didn't say I want to be the largest employer. I said I want to be the greatest. So I created a culture that people want to work for. And now my employees are selling it to other people. I don't have to. It means way more to go to a team where the quote unquote entry level lowest person is talking about how great it is to people that could be above them. They're selling it for me. I don't have to do it anymore, because if you set out to be a person of worth, you'll find success. But if you set out to be a person of success, I guarantee you'll find it. And you'll probably have very little worth and very little people around you when you get there. So set out to add worth into this world and your team, you will find success. And guess what? They'll be one of the teams that won't be here next year. And maybe that all of them will be on your team now. So it's just the way the world works. I'm sure we could look around this call and you could probably say, remember so-and-so a year or two ago? Yeah, they're on their own now because they weren't the best leader. But you wanted this role. No one, if somebody forced you into it, be honest with yourself. Okay. So just a reminder, you're going to make excuses after this call that you don't need to do this. Okay. But make decisions today that your future self will thank you for. Okay. Today has a purpose. Quit searching long-term for your purpose in your career. You got it today. Okay. People have given you the authority and the leadership in their life, in their career. We spend more time in our career than we spend at home with our kids. Okay. So, getting a call. Sorry. Dang it. I'm so sorry. Okay. So do you want to be known as a great speaker, a great communicator? I don't. I really want to be known as somebody that helped grow people. Okay. Like I said in the beginning, carpenters are not, nobody says that carpenter is amazing. They have the best tools and skills ever. No, they say, have you seen what that carpenter builds? Do you want people to speak about you saying that Allison is the greatest communicator, she's the greatest salesperson? And if that's what you want, then you're an individual contributor at heart. But if you say, no, actually what I want is people to say, when I meet Allison's team, everybody on that team is literally on fire for selling. They love their team. They love their customers. All their clients love them. And everybody just keeps referring people back to them. You will be defined as a leader on the people that you help build and grow, not on your own success. Okay. And if you think it eventually does go back to you. And it's so easy as a great leader to just deflect to your team. The only reason I'm here today, and I'll tell you this, the only reason I get to consult and have a podcast is because I have a phenomenal agency that is growing, whether I'm there or not, every single day and every hour. And that's the only reason I can take time to do stuff like this. So I really want to thank you, Jill, for giving me the opportunity to talk about leadership as a muscle. So just to remind you, create a workout plan, then work it out, then feed the muscle, rest and repeat, and you will grow as a leader consistently. And so will the people below you, beside you. I don't like to say below, people on your team, right? And someday maybe you'll be happy to say, wow, I look around and there's 7 teams in KW Northeast Ohio that came from my team 10 years ago. So, or maybe you own your own someday. I don't know. And so I don't know what your goal is. And maybe whoever owns this, Jose or whatever, may not like me saying that, but sometimes we have goals that don't always line up. But I think most leaders would be happy to see you go achieve your dreams, as long as you give them some credit, a little bit of credit. So thank you, Jill. That's all I got. You know, you did a good job introducing me. I hope that made sense, because I'll be honest with you, because I like to be honest. It's the first time I've actually talked about it. It's been a thought in my head for a while, and everybody knows it's super hard to get thoughts out. It's like, it makes sense up here. Hope it made sense when it came out, because if it did, maybe I'll turn it into a podcast. If it didn't, maybe I need to sit back down and say, where did I go wrong there? So anyways, Jill, thank you.
Thank you, Beau. I thought it was so great. I have one quick question for you before, if you have time for a question, do you?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. So I think that you do a really great job leading people.
Yeah.
What would you say your biggest secret, or what's your secret sauce of retention? Like, what makes people stay with you and not want to leave?
Okay. So it does go back to my mantra, and I don't mean to plug it, but it literally was like a filter for me. So if I say we love insurance, we love people more, it means different to each person on my team. But the reason our culture is good is because, you know what culture is? It's people with the same vision. That's it. Good culture. We all line up. You know, a vision or culture that's bad is because everybody's vision is different, right? And they're arguing, they're fighting. So our culture has created a work environment that people want to be in, right? So back to we love insurance, we love people more. My customer is my employee. If I make them feel safe, make them feel like they belong. One of the number one things that people want in life is to feel like they are making an impact being alive and that they belong somewhere. If you can tap into that, you belong here, not to manipulate them and thinking that you need me. That's not the key. We have to inspire them, not manipulate them. So you inspire them to say that you belong on this team. You know, I need you on this team. I want you on this team. So if I treat them, and Simon Sinek said it, you know, great leaders make their people feel safe. They need to feel safe failing with you. They need to feel safe sharing things with you. So you're not going to blow up their spot and use it against them. So be the leader that you would have wanted, make them your customer. And in return, your culture grows. And then the success that I've, whether it was 600 people or whether it was 5 people, has come from the fact that people understand that I chose them to work for me and they chose to work for me. So I love saying that we're not a family. I started wearing shirts. We ain't a family. So
I liked that analogy. I didn't know where you were going with it at first, but I get like that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, it does, right? I mean, there's people in your family you'd rather not spend time with. Just is what it is. So yeah. Well, thank you for asking that. I mean, anything else?
Anybody else? Any questions? And if there isn't questions, here I go filling in space.
Okay.
I just want everybody to know that I put in your podcast. Make sure I wrote it right in the chat. It's the Conviction of a Leader podcast. Yeah.
So you guys know one of the guests that I had on there at one point was the Conviction of a Leader. That's right. Any podcast platform. We're not on YouTube. Not yet. I have all the videos. It'll go up next season, which is next month. But Amanda Pullman was on it at one point, which all you guys know, I think, know her. But she was on it. I know she's all over the world, all over everywhere, all the time. But, you know, I actually could lock her down and got an interview a while back. So it was a really cool interview. So she's a great communicator.
She is. That's a great listen. Well, Beau, thank you so very much. We greatly appreciate you. And thank you for everyone who's hopped on.
Thank you. Appreciate everybody jumping on. No, you didn't have to, but I appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a great day, everyone.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.